Hi everyone, it's Daniel,
And I'm Jun,
and we are
Korean.
American.
Hey Daniel,
We're back
we're back! Yay! I to be honest with you, I didn't know it was gonna be this soon.
this soon.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
imagining maybe we would record. I thought at least I'll have September off.
September off.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Because that's your normal summer break, right? No,
No,
not 3 months.
that's true, 3 months.
Yeah,
But I think and beginning of September is kind of the start of fall.
that is
So,
the school. Yeah,
mm.
school calendar. Yeah,
so you're approaching it from, oh, I expect to have at least 3 months off.
as like a weather
Okay, okay. I was more from the perspective of
school
September
year.
is when I guess the kids are back in school and
Mm.
how I think about the summer ending. So.
So it's a back to school episode kind
But
of.
honestly, yeah, we did release our last episode, I think end of June, but we recorded like mid June, so it's been like two and
Mm.
a half months.
And then we had like a ad hoc one mid July
Hmm.
release, but that was recorded like early May.
I didn't even listen to it yet.
Oh, so you don't listen to things that you're not on.
More again, I've told you, I don't listen to much kind of adjacent content
Mm.
as what I feel like we do,
Yeah,
because I want authentic original takes. I don't want to ever be overly influenced by others with what I say. So
fair.
thank you, Byung, by the way.
Cool.
There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, where should we start?
Oh, there's so much to talk about, but
Yeah.
that will have to wait for another episode. We have to talk about K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is like all anyone is talking about, it feels like right now.
Do you know, like just yesterday, or maybe it was today, someone commented, like, can you come back and do
Oh,
K-pop
I
Demon
didn't I
Hunters?
didn't see that. Yeah.
Like, someone just commented literally today. And I was like, how do they know?
Yeah, I thought the hype would kind of die down, but it's just feels like it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. So I think two recent big news coming from K-pop Demon Hunter territory. Number one, the director is actually here in Korea.
Oh, Maggie Kang, right?
I don't even know who that is,
Hmm.
but I saw it in the elevator news
Okay.
thing. And then I think last week, K-pop Demon Hunters became the number one watched Netflix original movie of all
All
time.
time, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know like how much of a deal that is because I saw like number two and three and four,
I
and
did not
yeah.
seen any of them.
So I don't think Netflix is really big on original movies. I
Yeah.
think they're bigger on original drama
Dramas and
series.
TV shows, yeah.
But anyways, it is a thing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, we've talked a lot before about, oh, do we think this K wave can continue? And never, it always feels like it can't. Like
Yeah.
it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Whether it's BTS or, and they're coming back soon, right? Who knows how
Are
crazy
they?
that will be.
Mm.
Or whether it's what Parasite into Squid Game and then K-pop Demon Hunters
Yeah.
just it just keeps getting bigger and it just blows me away.
I don't know, for some reason I think Blackpink became bigger
Right now,
recently.
for sure, they feel like they're the biggest K-pop
Yeah.
group. Yeah, agreed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I know we have to talk about a lot of things like our summer and how we're feeling about the pod and its future and all that. But yeah, clearly we're back recording an episode. And yeah, that will all wait for the next one. So,
Hmm.
June, we're going to do a media review of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Or in Korea they call it Kaedehon.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the short Julin
Yeah, Kaedehon.
or what I think it should have been called, which is Korean American Pop Demon Hunters.
Or Korean American Canadian Demon Hunters.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
Uh,
So, when's the first time you heard about this animation?
Oh, let's see. I think we actually.
I remember that I'm almost pretty sure that you mentioned this
Uh-huh.
at least once when it wasn't this popular.
Mhm.
Kind of like in a mockingly manner, saying like,
really?
"Oh, this is ridiculous K-pop thing."
Ridiculous. Like the premise is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
I think what happened was we always have Friday movie night at our house, and it's very hard to find some consensus on what to watch.
Yeah.
And we have our various subscriptions, Netflix, Disney Plus, etc. And by the way, now did you know that with Coupon Play you get free HBO?
Yes.
Yeah, 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 crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know until just a few days ago. But anyway, so yeah, what we always do is we just open it up on our TV and just browse through. And we saw it trending, and I think that's when we watched it. It felt pretty early on in the whole like wave of it, but I don't think we were like very early. It was already popular enough so that it was kind of trending on our Netflix,
Yeah.
and it was recommended on our kids' account. So yeah, but I can't tell you the date. I don't remember.
So I think the first time that I've heard about it is when it started already gaining a lot of popularity, and like people at my workplace were talking about it.
Ah,
And I still didn't think, because like the premise again sounds very ridiculous.
It is,
So
yeah.
I've never thought about watching it.
yeah.
But I asked one of my colleagues who had like a 중2 daughter. What's 중2? It's eighth grade.
중이 means
Eighth grade.
oh 중학교 2학년,
Yeah.
네, second year of middle school.
Yeah.
Okay, eighth grade. Yeah, yeah.
So I asked her, "Have you watched it?" And she said she did, but she also followed up by saying it's not even for her eighth grade daughter, and it's so like 유치해.
Oh, eighth grade's too old almost for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was like, okay, and then there's no need for me to watch it.
yeah.
So I haven't watched it throughout the whole
Summer. Yeah.
whole summer, and when like it was like blowing up in the entire world, I still haven't watched it because
Yeah.
it was so stuck in my mind, thinking that it's not even for an eighth grader.
Yeah.
But I finally watched it last night because we had
Because
to.
of this, yeah.
Yeah.
So June, I wanted to bring this up. One of our Discord or Patreons in our Discord back in July 18th. I know you guys are on break, but was hoping to get your thoughts on K-pop Demon Hunters. And then I commented, yeah, I watched it with my kids. I thought it was pretty good, yeah, but definitely for the kids. And I did say, of course, the soundtrack's amazing. It's just a banger. We listened to it nonstop, and we've been listening to it nonstop for a very long time. But then they had a good take, which was, they really messed up because they were marketing it as a kids movie, because really it has a lot more broad appeal than just for the kids, which I'm not quite sure about. But at least that's what their take was. It was like, no, it shouldn't just be a kids movie. This is bringing in a lot of people who've never heard of Korean K-pop or K-culture or whatever, and it's bringing them in. So
I personally, I respectfully disagree. I think it's a kids movie.
it's a kids movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay.
I think some of the themes are good in that. Well, June, I'd fire back with this. You know the 90s Disney movies like Lion King?
Yes, of course.
Are those kids movies?
No, I think those are classics. I wanted to make this because I also wanted to say that one of my favorite movies, not only for animations, one of my favorite movies of all time is Inside Out, the Pixar animation.
Yeah.
So I am a very like.
Just because it's animation doesn't mean
Yeah,
it's
I'm not
too.
I'm not that type of person who says like animations are just for kids.
Yeah.
But this one was a kids
To you.
movie. Yeah.
How about Toy Story? Was that a kids movie?
I think that's also that could be for adults too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one felt more targeted towards kids than those.
I think so. Because the
Interesting.
plot. Are we talking about the plot? It was just very simple.
Yeah.
And cliche.
Yeah.
And cringe.
Cringe.
No depth in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it then. Any other initial impressions then before we kind of go into things?
Scene by
maybe?
scene?
Yeah.
Well, I did hear the song, that one song, Golden.
You had heard of it before.
I've
the
heard
movie.
of
Yeah.
it, and I heard the song before because it was like all over social media.
Uh-huh.
Every like all the Korean singers or maybe even the pop singers were doing covers of it.
Oh, are they? Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you
The
like
song
it?
is good.
Okay. How about all the songs?
It's in. I only know that song. Sorry.
Golden. Mm.
And then that like the soda pop.
The Saja Boys one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's like actually I think it's still number one in the Billboard,
Billboard.
Hot 100. chart.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Before we get into it, my initial thoughts were just to lead with. I really did enjoy it.
As a movie, or as content that you can see with kids.
So the first, again, in our Discord, what my response was yeah, my kids watched it, they loved it, it was interesting enough for me to watch about 70% of my attention on it, which is pretty good. A lot of times when I'm watching the kids stuff, I'm like on my phone, and I'm trying not to be because I want to enjoy it with the kids, but it's maybe too childish or whatever. And so it just doesn't keep my interest, but this was good enough. I would say, yeah, the music carried it for me for sure. I thought the animation was pretty good. So from that perspective, it's almost like a throwback to, it did feel like kind of old school Disney with like kind of Pixar style animation.
Yeah.
And the soundtrack was just incredible to me. And then the storyline, I do agree with you, it was simple, but it was kind of a fresh take at least. There were no
Was it?
complicated plot elements per se. But at least it was an original story in that way. I don't know, K-pop.
A world where no content is original anymore.
That's what I mean. Like it's just my hope is that this kind of content can kind of kick Pixar and Disney and all these studios into like high gear in a sense and like challenge them to not just keep making sequels and remakes of old content. So yeah, that's my hope. But yeah, it felt like some mix of, again, the Disney soundtrack and the unique, let's say, new plot, maybe not plot elements, but at least a new characters that are interesting.
Now that you bring up Disney, I have one take that I appreciated, which is a lot of the times, this is same for musicals for me as well, but sometimes I can't really focus on the story when people just start all of a sudden just start singing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's something
out
that
of
just,
element,
yeah,
right?
doesn't happen in real life, right? And same for Disney movies. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that, like musical Bollywood style where you like out of nowhere, you would just start singing.
And dancing, yeah.
And dancing, right? But this one is it made sense because like they're singing in a concert, so it's more, I think, in tune with the overall like storyline, I guess.
It was in the flow.
Yeah, that thing I appreciated.
Okay. I also noted that, yeah. By design, it was going to fit in more.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like you had to break from the plot. Okay, insert musical and dancing, go back to the plot.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's get into it then. So, my first question, they introduce it with some backstory around demons and Grima and Honmun. Are these new terms that they made up? Are these existing terms in Korean historical culture, whatever? And how accurate was it in your mind?
I think they're made up.
Okay.
I mean, there could be some historical backing to it, but at least for normal Korean, I don't think anyone would have heard of those terms.
It's not an immediately recognizable old folk story or well-known myth or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Although there are certain elements, like, I guess like Kyma is, when you say Maggie, so the opposite of Kyma means demon.
Okay,
So
okay.
maybe that's something.
Okay.
I've never heard of the term Honmun
Yeah.
or the concept of it, so I don't think that is something. 사자, when you say 사자 boys,
Yeah.
and I think their appearance was depicting a 저승사자,
Okay.
which is an undertaker in Korean.
Oh.
That's someone who takes you from the living world to the world of the dead, and they have like that cut, and they're wearing that black thing,
That referring to the hat?
the hat.
So they wear that hat. They
Yeah.
have the black robe or whatever.
That's a thing,
Okay.
and so that's what I was suspecting. That's why they're called the Saja boys.
Yeah.
But their logo is also a lion,
Lion,
which
yeah.
is a Saja. So I think that was a wordplay a little bit.
So the Korean term for Undertaker or Grim Reaper or whatever includes Saja in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
저승 사자. Yeah.
And in that word, is it the same Saja, like Gyosun Lion?
I think the Chinese characters are different,
Okay.
but the Korean spelling is the same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a wordplay then.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jun, I want to give you a chance to revise this because I think you might get slaughtered for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because Honmun, the hanja for Honmun is spiritual gate or spiritual door.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still, it doesn't. There's no concept of that or.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that it was Honmun, like soul door.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Okay.
So I think they made it believable,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like a concept that existed before, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read that the demon hunters are supposed to be playing kind of the role of a mudang. We've talked about this before from, what was that movie?
Pamyo?
Pamyo, yeah.
Yeah.
So that also was not immediately obvious to me, but I think there seems to be consensus that that's kind of their role.
Like they're very Joseon 시대, like the Joseon dynasty.
Yeah, or like with the dancing and the singing in a way to lead or,
Yeah.
I don't know, capture evil spirits and things like that.
But also what was tricky is that their costume wasn't a typical mudang
At all,
costume.
right? Yeah. Hyper modern and
Yeah.
just like a K-pop group.
No, like even when they're depicting the 조선시대,
Oh,
whatever the trios.
yeah, I see.
And there's a scene where they show the historical, like the trios of the past.
Yeah,
And I think that was somewhat referencing like actual history.
it must have been. That's what I was gonna ask
Yeah.
too. Because
There
they
are a
went
lot
through
of
the
those like
generations.
three female
Groups.
like groups who are like performing in the US military base or something. Yeah.
All right, moving on. I think as a non-K-pop listener myself, and this is one of the things that I think they maybe did well. They made it very accessible for people who weren't already, let's say, into K-culture or K-pop. So there was the part where they were introducing the three singers or the three members, and one is the visual, the other is the rapper lyricist or whatever, and then the other is the leader. And so yeah, it was very.
Wait, who's the visual?
The first one, the long, I don't know their names. The long pink hair. My girls will be so embarrassed that I don't know their names. but-
Rumi? The long purple hair?
No, she's the main lead.
Oh, she's not. Oh, okay. I
The
thought she was
visual-
the visual and the lead.
I think when they introduced them, the pink hair was supposed to be they said she's the visual.
Oh, the one with the like the black sheep one.
Yeah, the black sheep one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they said, someone's the maknae, the youngest, and things
Yeah.
like that. So I did appreciate that if you had probably no knowledge or awareness, they didn't assume that the audience would already know what K-pop is and
Yeah.
anything about K-culture. So I appreciated that as someone, again, who knows very, very little about K-pop. Very light education. Next, there was that scene where, I don't know, it felt so right for, and this is why I said earlier, kind of half jokingly, it should have been Korean American Pop Demon Hunters. But that snack spread, they started off, and they very prominently featured Seokang,
새우깡.
right? Which
Yeah.
you don't see it around as much anymore, I'd say.
It's just a classic,
It's a classic.
but
yeah.
it's not something that you have every day.
Yeah. And it's not, I wouldn't even say that as popular now as it was like 30 years ago, right?
No.
Yeah. So that to me was like, it felt like one of those things where when any Korean American thinks about snacks, Seokang's the first thing they think of. Then maybe there's others that have made waves, like gobokchip or whatever. Like that was
Gobokchip.
carried in Costco recently. But when it came
Really?
to Korea, there were all these snacks that seemed very common and ubiquitous, like home run bowl and things like that. That at least for me, living in my Maryland suburb,
Yeah.
never heard of them. It never
Really?
came across. Yeah.
For Korean, like 홈런볼 and 새우깡 are in the same
Category of like classics.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I definitely knew of Seokang,
Ah,
but not home run bowl. Yeah.
interesting. Do you know that 새우깡 is a direct rip-off of something
In Japan.
in Japan?
Yeah, no, not surprised.
I think most of the classic Korean snacks have a equivalent in Japan.
Did I tell you my Seokang story?
No.
Back in the days of AOL Instant Messenger,
Mm-hmm.
this was like when I was in middle school and high school, I spent my whole day on AOL Instant Messenger chatting with my friends.
Yeah.
And you had to create your screen name, right? So my friend's was Seokang, right? And I was like, oh, what's that? And he was like,
in Korean or in
English. Like,
Yeah.
but here's the thing,
새우깡.
June. His name was Seo.
Ooh.
He was Kim Seuk.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, what's Seokang? I know your name is like Seok. He was like, Seokang. And I was like, what's Seokang? I was like, you don't know what Seokang is? He was like, you know those shrimp chips? I was like, oh, that's called Seokang? Why is it called Seokang? And he was like, you don't know anything. Just revealing how ignorant I was, let's say, of Korean culture and even snacks back then. But anyway, that's my Seokang story.
So they had 새우깡, and then they were very prominently featuring kimbap.
Kimbap, yeah.
And I think that was somewhat addressing the recent wave of like Trader Joe's kimbaps.
Here's an interesting thing, June. I believe this is like 7 years in the making. So that's one thing I keep have to remind myself of. When this whole project started, maybe even the screenplay and all that, they had it pre-COVID. And then it just took this long to finally actually get produced
interesting.
and released, right? So
they
yeah.
already had that in the.
Yeah, they had it in it. I think gimbap, if you had to name one famous Korean food though, I think gimbap would have to be it.
Well, I thought it was kimchi
Well, kimchi, yes, okay.
or bulgogi or bibimbap.
I'd say gimbap's maybe more famous than even bulgogi or bibimbap.
Is it? Well, that's very surprising.
At
to
least
me.
in my mind,
Is
yeah.
it? Oh, that's
Is it not?
interesting. I don't know. How would I know?
In your mind, what is the most typical, like, what is the most Korean snack?
As a Korean?
Yeah.
Well,
Not
first
like-
of all, is kimbap a snack or a meal?
Oh, it's a snack.
Well, for me, it's a meal.
Oh, interesting.
It's pop.
That's true. I don't know why I think of it as.
No, no, but some Koreans would claim it as a
I
snack.
don't think of it as a meal.
Mm.
Yeah, there's no reason it couldn't be.
I think the most, to me, the most symbolic, typical Korean snack in that sense would be tteokbokki.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think that's true for Korean Americans. Yeah,
Mm.
I think kimbap is the number one.
I don't, I don't even see people eating kimbap anymore.
It's going down. It's like going away a little bit.
It's something that you eat with something else.
Uh-huh.
For instance, ramen and kimbap
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
but you wouldn't just have kimbap like that. In that was depicted in the way
Agreed.
in the movie.
I think most in my Korean American generation, anytime there was a road trip,
Hmm.
yeah, you would pack a bunch of rolls of kimbap and just eat that in the car. That was like the thing. Maybe a second one of like peeled fruit and peeled and cut like Korean pears or something like that. But
Did
that was
your-
like your prototypical road trip fare. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, that was the case when I was little, but not in modern day Korea.
I know, that's what I mean. Yeah, we're stuck. Korean Americans
Okay,
are
I
stuck
think
in
it's
the
either
70s.
tteokbokki or chicken.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in my mind, it's still kimbap.
Did
So
your parents ever make you yubuchobap?
yubu chobap?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that is.
The little like bean curd pockets, and you put rice.
Ah,
in.
yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's like the fancier cousin of kimbap.
Yeah. We never had it at home, but that would be at like, your Korean wedding buffet. They
Ah.
have stuff like that. For
I like
sure.
yubuchobap more than kimbap.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
I do. You don't like yubuchobap?
No, Injang, I can't agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Kimbap to me is the perfect, like, I was going to say meal. It's not a meal. It's like the perfect bite of food. It's the mixture of everything. You have the seaweed, you have the rice, you have the veggies, you have the meat.
But the
All in one,
yubuchobap has
easy to eat finger food. Yeah.
like the pop in the yubuchobap is more seasoned with
It is.
like
Yeah, yeah.
beef and like yeah.
But it's kind of boring. That's it. That's all there is.
I just like it better.
That spread though of the initial snacks too. They also had like odeng, let's say, 컵라면,
컵라면.
냉면, 찌개s, 호떡, sundae. I feel like they used it as just a way to showcase.
Wait, they had 냉면?
Yeah, they did. I freeze framed it and found it.
Really?
It's kind of weird, but I feel like they used it as a way to just literally show every single Korean food
Ah.
item that might be recognizable.
I recognize that there was a scene where they're having I guess it was 설렁탕.
Oh, did they have that?
That
at some
scene
point?
where three of them are in the restaurant
Mhm.
and they're eating like some stew thing. I thought that was 설렁탕. Maybe it's sundae-국? I don't know.
It wouldn't be sundae-guk.
It
Probably
wouldn't be?
설렁탕. Yeah.
설렁탕? Okay.
But I think what I really appreciate what they did was they're trying to expose as many people, all the viewers, to Korean culture as much as possible. So yeah, the food and the spread. But I even made this comment though, June. Literally, I said they showed all these foods, right? But there was no tteokbokki, so it was inaccurate.
Yeah, like three teenage girls, they would definitely have tteokbokki.
Yeah, 100%. With the gimbap and all
Yeah.
the other, there would be tteokbokki.
Yeah.
So I said that was an inaccuracy. Also, in that opening kind of scene with the spread, they had like the little kimchi serving platter and the little rice bowl, and that is one thing I will say throughout the whole movie. These little details, I think completely nailed. It just makes you feel like even though it's an animation, I tell people, yeah, it feels like it was filmed in Seoul, even though it was produced outside, right? So yeah, they really nailed these small details.
Do you recognize the detail of the plate that they serve the kimbap in?
Oh,
Like the
long-
green, like
Oh.
the green plastic one.
Yeah.
That's like Korean nostalgia.
It just
to me.
feels right?
Yeah.
It just fits perfectly.
Do you know
in.
what that is though?
I mean, it's just what they gave you at like Kimbap Cheongkook or whatever, right?
Oh, so you already know about this?
Oh, any like,
It's like childhood memory to me. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is fair or not, but it just feels also what like a Korean immigrant would think of when they think of Korea, right? It's like that fantasy with a lot of the old things, like the nostalgia factors.
Yeah.
Whereas, now there's no chicken, there's no tteokbokki. That's what would be more accurate today.
Did that make you cringe a bit?
A little bit. We'll get into it more, but no, I have to honestly say it did not make me cringe at all. But I was thinking with the amount of kind of fame and success and all the hype that's surrounding it, that modern Koreans might start to be like a little bit like, hey, this is not actually super accurate to what it might be like today.
Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the feelings, and that's something I really want to get into with you later. But let's hold on that for now. Yeah, okay. I left this out earlier, but I made the note of this is when I noted like this is modern Disney, amazing soundtrack, but made for the modern age, right? Like these are not classic princesses in that sense. They're fighters. They are super cool and
Yeah.
modern and wear awesome clothes and have like they look like K-pop stars, right? So
Yeah.
in a sense, it's definitely not a classic in that way. And that was part of the thing that made me feel a little bit like cringy at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like this premise is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like they're K-pop stars, but they also fight demons.
Yeah.
Come on, right?
Well, I had a slightly different opinion about that.
Yeah.
So even before I watched this movie, one of my friends told me what the premise is about, and I thought it was pretty convincing.
Okay.
Yeah, because initially I thought it was ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like K-pop girl groups fighting demons, like what the f, right?
Yeah.
But then like they laid out this background story of like there was this traditionally like the three trios of females who would like perform and create this hormone, and like within that world, at least, I think it was pretty convincing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, they did show this is just the continuation of
Yeah.
what's been going on
It's
for
like
a
a
while.
heritage of,
Yeah.
mudangs and performers.
Which is cool, right? Because June, you did express in a previous episode how there is like that lineage of mudangs, right?
Yes.
Like if your mom was a mudang, it's very
Yes.
likely that you might have that calling and become one. So they definitely depicted that very well, I think. Oh, okay. Now we're going to get into maybe a bit more of the meaty stuff. At its core, so okay, what I love about the soundtrack, June, is that not only are the songs catchy, and I think I even saw some posts around how it was analyzing how complex and difficult and challenging these songs are, right? Are there tone shifts? Are there whatever? And yeah, they're challenging songs. They're not just like very easy, let's say, to sing. But I love the lyrics. I really. One thing when I'm listening to the songs that my kids are listening to and into, I always want to hear if the lyrics are like, are they just boring, bland? Are they kind of like weird and sussy? If you actually know what they're talking about, or are they like really good and pure? And I would say these lyrics are awesome. I really love them, and they reinforce a lot of things that I'm honestly going through in my own life and have been going through. To the point of like, yeah, I just get really emotional listening to the songs. So they're not only
specifically
catchy.
What lyric?
I mean, I could go through almost all of them.
Really?
Not soda pop, okay? But Golden,
Yeah.
I mean, at its core, it's about identity, right?
Yeah.
And being able to reconcile two parts of yourself that never felt like they could be reconciled. And this is, again, getting back to my point.
Was that a Korean American
Every
thing?
Korean American would resonate so deeply.
Oh, now that it clicked to me, it's like that. So
oh my gosh, it would resonate so deeply with you.
Well, the pattern thing
is your Korean side.
your Korean
and you have
side.
to hide it,
Oh,
right? And it's
interesting.
like, you don't want everyone to see or know.
Oh my god.
But it is who you are, and you never felt like you could really express both parts, your Korean side and your American side. And so, yeah, I think from that perspective, I'm like, man, these lyrics
Oh,
are so good.
It never clicked. It never clicked before you told me.
Okay, so June, as for you then, when you hear the lyrics of Golden and think about this, two parts of yourself, this identity not being whole, what do you think of? How does it register for you? What resonates? Or what might resonate for a lot of Koreans, let's say?
I didn't go into that deep with the lyrics. I just thought, it's like about Rumi.
Oh,
But it's a separate topic.
Yeah.
One thing that was super interesting for a Korean to hear is that, like when Koreans sing famous pop songs, you know how like they, for instance, let me come up with a good example.
okay.
Let's say when they sing Yesterday from the Beatles, right? They would go like Yesterday and then because they don't know the American lyrics.
You're saying
Right?
your typical Korean when
A
they sing
typical
like
Korean
an
would do
American
that.
pop song.
And now I see all these like quote unquote challenge movies
Yeah.
on social media where like foreigners are singing this song Golden.
Yeah.
And there are these like snippets of Koreans in there. And I see the exact same. Because I like they sing the exact lyric
Yeah,
up
exactly.
until the Korean lyrics.
Then they
And I
kinda
think it's
hum
like
it.
there's like this one line saying like 영원히 깨질 수 없는 or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Welcome to my life and world. Yeah, I still do that.
That was funny.
I have to kind of mumble through the Korean words. Even when I hear it,
Yeah.
if I read the words, I know what it means. I was going to say this, Shun. I'm quite proud because when I read the lyrics now, I can actually understand again, like maybe 60, 70% of the Korean lyrics. But when you hear it, it doesn't register to me as words. Like I can't, it's too fast.
Yeah.
So I can't actually pick up what they're saying and therefore I don't understand it. And I have no chance of memorizing it then.
But it makes sense that it doesn't you can't really pick it up immediately because a lot of the K-pops, they sometimes use Korean words and pronounce it in a way that it sounds kind of Englishy. Or yeah. So it's like hidden here and there, and it all kind of like rhymes a little bit with the English. So it sounds, even for a Korean, sometimes you don't even know if it's Korean or not. Yeah.
I mean, thank you for the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
but that's not my problem.
Okay.
But yeah, if I read it, I understand what it's saying.
Yeah. Sorry. No, but it's interesting now that I hear it from a Korean American perspective and like that relationship between like the patterns and your Koreanness in it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty deep. And I can imagine how you could have seen it a little bit differently.
I wanted to put this out there though, because another thing, when you talk about the Korean side of you, it's not just like, oh, I eat kimchi at home, right? It's more this idea that Korean collectivist mentality that your parents have, let's say, like you play your role as son or daughter, you do this for the family, that kind of collectivist mindset, battling with your American, if you were born and raised in America, this individualism that is so innate to you. And I thought that might resonate for modern Koreans too, which is they're growing increasingly individualistic, and yet the culture, society, their family, parents, work, whatever, might feel like that collectivism, just like stifling that individuality. So I wonder if that's a part of what Koreans might interpret from these song lyrics.
My instinctual thought is probably not. But now that you say it, it makes me want to watch it again.
I mean, maybe that's the blessing of living in a collectivist society.
Yeah.
You don't wrestle with things because this is how it is. You take it for granted. You don't know any different. Kind of ignorance is bliss, right? I don't know.
Yeah. In a way, it makes sense. It's sort of like inherited in you, like the collectivism.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay, let's say there's some K-drama trope of like...
But the difference is that it's not a shame to have a collectivist mindset in Korea.
Oh, it's not a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What about but is it shameful to have an individualistic mindset? That would be the equivalent for you guys.
Oh, so the pattern is my individualism.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, it could... I know that there were interpretations of, let's say, like Frozen, when like Elsa was like sort of coming out of the closet. It was sort of like the
not coming out of the closet.
No, I'm specifically saying that because there was like an analogy of like it's appealing to
yes.
Yeah, people with different like sexual orientations.
Actually, that's a huge fan theory. Oh, so you were saying that. Okay.
Yeah. So in that sense, maybe like that kind of individualism is something that you have to hide from society. Yeah, because I was just thinking, what type of individualistic character is so individual that you have to think it as a shame and you have to...
I mean, I could go on and on, no? Like, thinking through K-drama tropes. I mean, love. What if you love someone, but, your family wouldn't approve, their family might not approve, you're from different, like, blah, blah, blah. That's like the individualism versus collectivism, battling it out.
It's not like a shame, though. It's like something that you have to fight against, but you're not shameful that you like this person.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why you brought up sexuality as something you might feel ashamed of in Korean society. But otherwise, whether it's like what you want to do work-wise, your parents might not approve. There's no shame there. It's more, okay. Because if you're bringing up shame, Jun, I think this is very easy to touch on in Korean society.
Yeah.
But if you just don't get good grades in school...
And that's your pattern?
That's your pattern. I'm just not smart. Like, I'm not
these in your body.
But you feel ashamed. You want to hide it, right?
You want to hide that you're not a good student.
Yeah.
But
and everyone's just beating like you have to be a good student, right?
But is that like intrinsically individual though? It's just like you're not having good grades.
I know, but you don't fit the role or expectation of you in society or in your family, right? You feel shame for that.
Yeah.
Yes. To your point earlier, Jun, the themes and the lyrics, they're very straightforward, very on the nose.
Yeah.
Doesn't try to mask anything. But at the same time, those simple messages, I think, can be very powerful.
It really makes me want to watch it again.
I mean, come on. Like, how can I fix the world, fix me when I don't have my voice? Like, that's so on the nose. It's so almost like cringe and how obvious
No, but I
is.
wanted to watch it in a Korean American, like that kind of analysis.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, When I watched the movie, only knowing that one song, Golden,
Yeah.
I thought it was sort of a letdown that the way that it was first introduced in the movie.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was
because
more like in the climax, kind of, right? But it was kind of in the beginning,
early middle.
middle-ish, and then she didn't even perform it well.
Yeah.
It's
Did
kind
it
of like
redeem? Did it? Was it redeemed at the end though? Because then they did sing it and perform it at the climax.
they did.
I've seen it at this point 4 times. So
At the Namsan thing,
yeah,
they sang
yeah.
Golden at the Namsan Stadium.
Yeah, and that's when before the other two were gonna go on, they ran. So they didn't finish the song,
Uh-huh.
but that's what they were performing to win, to finish, to achieve the golden honmun. That was the song they picked.
They did?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't apparently I wasn't paying attention.
No, but they didn't finish it. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was kind of anticlimactic or a little bit of a letdown when it's already coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird because you knew the song was their hit before watching it. So
Yeah.
when you're watching it, you wouldn't realize that at all. But yeah, I could see why that would be a little weird. I love the honey one scene was so funny to me.
Do you know who the voice actor behind that is?
Is this someone famous?
Yeah, you
I
would
don't-
know this
I don't know.
person.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Daniel Day Kim.
Oh, my namesake. Kwashichu.
Speaking of, there's so many of like these big Korean or Korean
American,
American
yeah.
stars who are doing the voice acting. Like Ken
Who else?
Jeong was in.
Ken Jeong was in it?
Yeah, and do you know who was the voice actor for Kima?
No.
It's Lee Byung-hun.
No. Really?
Yeah, is that
I would never know. They don't have very recognizable voices.
they don't.
They know they Kim, Ken Jeong. Like
Yeah.
I did not recognize them. Yeah. But that honey one scene, the Hanisa, like they are. How often do you go, or have you? When was the last time you went to a Hanisa?
I think I've been to a honey one once in my life.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't go regularly.
No.
For whatever reason, it's like, a lot of other parents take their kids and growth things, whatever. So
Yeah.
we've been a handful of times, and yeah, I have to say they just nailed it.
Yeah. I think they were very clearly trying to explain what the philosophy behind Hanyuan is. Like
Holistic.
Yeah, the whole you don't focus on the particular, you have to see the balance of the whole and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like very intuitive, maybe
Yeah.
not science based. Yeah.
But what was about the eye thing? It was kind of gross.
Oh, when he was like
Yeah.
looking, that I didn't get as much. But the two parts of the Hanisa, the Eastern medicine doctor, Chinese doctor that they saw that I loved was it. I really do think it's mostly placebo and just kind of a sham.
Yeah.
So it's like grape juice with a different label on top.
Yeah.
Or, even the pictures of him with the celebrities on the wall, it's like fake. He just added his sticker on.
Yeah.
So they nailed that. But they also nailed the fact that he was crazy accurate. And every time you go to one of these Hanisas, they feel your pulse, they look at you, touch your hand. Like, okay, maybe that's it. They just look at you. And then they tell you everything about you that how could anyone possibly know this? But it's accurate.
Is it?
It is. It's crazy. It's like, these kind of foods make you feel not good. Oh, do you have a problem with sweating a lot? Like they just notice things about you.
Was
And
it?
I'm like,
Is it not because you were sweating?
well, no, they're probably like, well, you prefer, for me, it's like, well, you prefer hot temperatures over cold temperatures and things like that. And it's just like, how can you know this just from looking at me, feeling my pulse and just like,
Yeah.
so they also nailed that because everything he said was crazy, creepily, eerily accurate, right? About them. So yeah, that's what I loved.
Did you realize that the Hanyuan, like the store signage of Hanyuan was designed as like Han, H-A-N,
Yeah.
and then Uiwon in
Uiwon.
Korean?
Yes, I
Is that a
noticed that.
Korean American thing?
No.
Were they trying to allude to like
Han.
the Han? No.
Yeah, I don't know. I did notice that, but I didn't interpret that anyway at all. June, there was an Easter egg. Do you know that song like dun 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 dun?
There were so
dun,
many
dun,
Easter
dun,
eggs.
dun. Okay. But that's a very famous song.
Yeah, in
and
Korea.
the singer of that was one of the voice actors, I believe. Or no, sorry, one of the voice actors was the actor in the drama that made that soundtrack very famous.
Was it?
There's some
Was it
connection there.
Melomanx?
Melomance, yeah,
No.
yeah.
I recognize. So I think they were trying to not only introduce different Korean culture in terms of like fashion and food, they're also trying to introduce Korean music in different decades.
Oh, really?
Like there was one song that I don't think a lot of Korean Americans would recognize. It's from a early 90s boy band called Deuce.
No.
A very famous song called 나를 돌아봐. And
Okay.
out of nowhere
They
they
started
played
playing
that.
it.
Yeah.
So for you, it triggers nostalgia.
Yeah. And then they had songs from like Twice a little bit. So here and there they're trying to introduce.
Well, Twice were the singers. They were two of the singing actors in this.
Oh, were they?
They actually sang.
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know.
I think they were two of the singers for a lot of the songs. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, the other part of that scene where they first meet the Saja Boys and that Mellow Man song comes on or whatever was there was that slow motion spilling of the Hanyak, right? And it's like, you know, it's a
Yeah.
slight nudge, but they go flying.
Yeah.
It's this very dramatic scene.
Typical K-drama.
Exactly. Yeah. Later on, the other one that was very typical K-drama was, you know, the female lead was running away. And so the Saja Boy guy, Chinu, I think, he grabs her hand. And we've talked about this before. So,
Yeah.
like, don't go, grab your
Yeah.
hand trope.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I appreciated how they weaved in the K-drama elements, the slow motion, overly dramatic song.
Yeah.
First meeting of the eventual, female male leads. So, yeah, they wove in the K-drama tropes. I just noticed in the concert scene that when the Saja Boys first perform, the details are just so accurate. Like I don't know if they just took a video and literally then converted that into the animation. But everything from the clothing the Ajuma and Ajushis were wearing
Yeah.
to like even the little street sign, like that literally is exactly what it looks like in Korea.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were very, very good about that.
I think it's worth addressing that scene where the Saja Boys and the Huntrix were in the same like some TV show.
Oh, yeah,
and they were
yeah.
like bowing to each other.
Lower.
I think that was very typical like Korean, like music entertainment show
Yeah.
type of attitude that they show, which would be kind of interesting for non-Koreans to see.
I also think you said one thing I picked up on because of our previous podcast discussions where, you know how they refer to them as like their hubes and sambes or whatever. And when a new group debuts, you want to like support them and things like that and
Yeah.
do the meetings together and all
Yeah.
that. So just that camaraderie that exists between groups, I think you would never expect that in the US, right? Like when you're competing, you're going against each other. You don't try to be friendly with them. But this like more, very like communal oriented, we're all supporting each other environment feels very in place in Korea. And I recognize that because of you describing that culture to me.
Yeah. I also recognize that they intentionally put in certain Korean words not translated. And I think in the hopes of trying to make it like a thing that Americans say.
Oh, like what?
For instance, like 가자 가자
I
가자.
heard that. Yeah. We get some comments sometimes that they're like, oh, it's so funny to me as a Korean when Daniel basically uses Korean, but in an English way.
Yeah.
I forgot the exact term. But anyway, I'll use like a Korean, like something hada verb
Yeah.
in the place of like the actual
Yeah.
verb, right? So that to me, that's just like very natural, typical Konglish.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound funny or anything endearing. I guess Koreans might hear it differently. But yeah, when they intersperse, to your point, those like little Korean phrases, specifically I also wrote down gacha, 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 right? It felt so natural to me. And yeah, again, felt very Korean American. Okay. Yeah, let's get into shame now. So on Celine, the character who raises Rumi, so she plays, I think, she represents the older generation. Right? And she always values and tells her to hide your shame, wait till it's fixed, don't let anyone see. And I think they did a perfect job of nailing that. She's not a bad character. She's actually
not.
very kind of kind-hearted in a sense, but she doesn't know any different. And so she's just doing what she thinks is the right thing, what is loving to her. And she's just not equipped to handle this new generation that feels like, well, let me be me, right? And so that also felt very stereotypically like a Korean American experience. But I wonder if that registered for you the same way.
I want to say I definitely understand that stereotypical like older generation Korean, but I think it hits more so for a Korean American than a Korean because I reckon that like Korean Americans, we talked about this a lot, like they're in a time capsule. Their mindsets are in exactly like frozen in the time when they immigrated, which mostly is going to be like the 70s or 80s. So they have that mindset of like trying try not to express yourself that much.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're trying to adjust to this new society where you just really want to blend in and not really show your heritage that much, right? So I think it hits more for a Korean American than a Korean Korean. Yeah.
What is one example of like a cultural difference between your generation, our generation in Korea, and our parents' generation in Korea that kind of manifests a lot? So like I said earlier, it's always like my individual desires versus what my parents want me to do. Like that's the common clash for Korean Americans.
I think one of the biggest difference that we see these days is it's also related to the economic growth and the phase of the economy that we're in right now. In my parents' generation, it was all about your putting your effort, right? Like we call it 노력.
Okay.
Like, why don't you put in more effort and then you will succeed, right?
Yeah.
They lived in a society where the economic growth was like very exponentially and explosively growing.
Yeah.
And so whenever they try something very hard, they would most of the time succeed and achieve their goals. Whereas I think the Koreans living in modern Korea nowadays realize that we're no longer living in a society where if you do something and you put a lot of effort, you're just gonna make it happen. And so there are a lot of skepticism towards that, right? And there's this word that young people use to mock older generation when they keep on telling you to
노력?
try harder. That word 노력.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is a mocking word, but they put another O in the middle of no and 력 and
Oh,
say
like
no
노력, like for no.
yeah, it's like
노력.
like no right? And they even mock the older generation for telling us to try harder,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because like you don't even know, like
Yeah.
we even if we try harder, it's so harder than when you were growing up, kind of. So I think there's that mentality discrepancy. Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned before, Jun, it's this idea that, let's say like the 꼰대 mentality. Once the older generation realizes, oh, this is a bad thing, they like flip pretty quickly and immediately try to overdo it. Oh, we're not gonna have that 꼰대 behavior.
Yeah.
Whereas, at least growing up, it felt like my parents' generation, they were never gonna budge from their values.
Yeah. Because there's no societal pressure.
Yeah, there's no. If anything, it's like they get more entrenched the more you push back.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let me be what I want to be, Dad. It's like, no, you have to be what is going to make the most money or make us the proudest or whatever it might be. And so that's one thing where I think there's a very different relationship between the younger generation in Korea and the older generation, at least compared to what I see in the U.S.
Do you know what's really interesting now that you say it?
Yeah.
Is that another form of individualism seeping into the older generation of Korean immigrants?
Oh, interesting.
Saying that this is my individual, this is my individual thought, because in Korea ultimately it's still very collectivist. So once you see what the others are thinking, you would like very quickly adjust to that.
Interesting.
Whereas like in America, you are in that mindset, but you're also living in this very individualistic society. So you're like still maintaining that thought maybe.
I could see that.
It's very individualistically collectivist.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's more your previous analogy with the beer brewers that don't know how to move on,
Yes.
right? It's like, well, this is all I know. I don't have my Korean society around me to grow and change. So I don't know how to change. And so I'm just going to stick to what I know. And yeah, I think, again, the Celine character in this, I don't know how she registered to you, but she perfectly encapsulated that mindset of the older generation of, let's say, Asian Americans or specifically Korean Americans. Like, no one would see her character and say she was a bad character. She was well-intentioned. She raised a daughter that wasn't her own.
Yeah.
She did everything and clearly cared about her. She just she wasn't equipped to do anything different than what she had been doing. And so, yeah, she couldn't evolve along with the times, let's say.
I see. The more that you analyze it in through a Korean American lens, now I really understand why it's supposed to be called Korean American Demon Hunters.
Okay. Almost done with my notes, and then we can go on to just broader discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the only kind of factual inaccuracy I saw in the whole movie. There's no stadium at the top of Namsan Tower.
There isn't.
Yeah.
And I can address another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another one.
Yeah.
Wait, give me hints.
Where they live.
Oh, was like some perspective of Namsan Tower like
Oh,
not
no, no,
accurate
no.
with something else,
So
or
I wanted to get into like the architectural, like like I think they were pretty spot on.
okay,
They
okay,
tried to depict the urban landscape in, as accurate as possible. So they
yeah.
actually did like some of like those like 성곽길's where Rumi and Jinu were dating, like
Uh-huh.
that like castle wall kind of
Oh yeah, that's
area.
Naksan
Yeah,
something.
that's a place where it actually exists,
Yeah,
and
a
a lot of
lot
the
of
place.
K-dramas are filmed there
The
too.
only one place that was inaccurate, and I heard that it's not their fault, was where they live.
Uh-huh.
The three,
Yeah.
they live in this like very tall
Yeah.
skyscraper, which obviously is supposed to be the Lotte Tower.
Oh, was this supposed to be Lotte
It was
Tower?
supposed to be the Lotte
Oh,
Tower, and
I
I
didn't know
heard
that.
the behind story is that they wanted to make them live in the Lotte Tower, but the
Yeah.
Lotte didn't allow them because it was like they had copyrights of the shape of the building or whatever.
Oh, but they prominently featured Lotte Tower throughout.
They
They
did.
did. I showed it many. I saw it at least 2 times.
Okay,
Yeah.
anyways, I've heard that they wanted to make them live in the Lotte Tower. Lotte wouldn't allow
Oh,
them to
okay,
do
okay,
that, so
okay.
they created this like non-existent
I see.
skyscraper. Yeah.
That's okay. They tried their best, but worked around it.
Yeah.
No, definitely Lotte Tower was featured at least twice.
Mm,
I remember seeing very distinctly.
yeah.
And then I guess I didn't realize where they were supposed to be living.
Mm.
Some baller. I assumed it was one of the like those four Sungsu acro foray.
Yeah. Yeah, but there is no stadium on top of Namsan Mountain.
Yeah.
It would be cool to have one like that, but no.
It made me think, June, what are the biggest venues that exist in Seoul? Because actually, my one of my thoughts is that they're not that many
Mm.
to have really, let's say, like 30,000, 50,000
So
person
the real
crowds.
big one is the Jamsil main stadium, which is depicted in the movie.
Okay.
In the beginning, I think when they have their concert, they're having their concert at the Jamsil main stadium.
Mm.
And it's a very iconic, symbolic thing that you can perform there
Oh, it is.
because you
Okay.
can fill in. I don't know the
It's like you made
capacity
it.
of it.
Can you look it
Uh,
up? I'm just curious.
it's under construction right now, and I heard that that's one of the reasons why. I heard that that's one of the reasons why Swift couldn't perform in Korea.
Not the big enough venue for her.
Um,
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, Olympic Stadium.
mhm.
Oh, yeah. I've been to the park there. Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Oh, it says it's about 70K.
70,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's decent. That's pretty big. I'm sorry, that's pretty big.
I would
Bigger
say
than I
that's the
thought.
biggest stadium, and then the other one would be Sangam, the World Cup Stadium.
Yes.
That's what
That's the
probably,
one I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
on the west. Okay,
Yeah.
north of the river.
And then there's like the Olympic fencing stadium, which is right next to the main stadium, which is slightly smaller.
Okay. The Seoul World Cup Stadium's also 66,000, so pretty similar.
Mm.
And then what was that third one you said?
The Olympic fencing stadium.
Yeah. Okay, because yeah, I'm thinking referencing like the baseball parks. They have like 25,000.
Mm.
And basically, June, some of the biggest venues in the US, they're for the NFL, the American football games. Those
Yeah.
can seat literally even college stadiums can seat like 100,000 people.
Whoa.
And so that was one of those things in my mind. It's like, well, if American football's not popular, I guess soccer is here, so that would be the equivalent. But what are the big stadiums that exist in Korea? Because they don't have American football. But
Do you know what's the biggest stadium in the world?
no idea.
Do you know where it is?
I mean, I would guess America, but
No. I
Is
think
it
you
a-
can guess.
is it soccer? Oh, China.
No.
No,
Close.
it's not close to China.
It's in North Korea.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it holds 150K.
150.
And it's the stadium where they do like the card
Oh
thing.
yeah. For the
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, almost done with the notes. That final performance, June. It's like, what did they call it in the movie? Like the music
Oh,
of
yeah.
Idol Awards.
Idol Awards, yeah.
That must correspond to some famous event in Korea, right?
There is no one event, but there are a lot of like several of these in the year end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the whole thing you were saying, right? Like the battle of the bands, like 5 famous K-pop groups come with their fandoms and
Yeah.
like they try to cheer on and
Yeah,
win,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
So that was reflecting that kind of culture.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, the final thing. I wanted to see if this resonates with you. This to me is a very kind of Christian culture, maybe even more than an American one or Korean American one. But the idea of like generational curses and the sins of the father will be passed on to the son, and in maybe more secular terms, just kind of this pattern of family dynamics existing from generation to generation. Like, oh, your father had this abuse and trauma, and so it got passed on to you, and you pass it on to your kids. Does that concept exist at all in like the Korean psyche?
Not in modern Korea anymore.
Oh, really?
If anything, you just want to go against it.
Oh.
Yeah.
But doesn't it feel like there's this inevitability, like that you're going to... Is there also the common saying that, sons marry their mothers, daughters marry their fathers? Like, just subconsciously, that's what you are drawn to, because that's the only model you have from a young age.
As far as I know, the closest thing that Korean people say to this concept is 가난이 대물림 된다. Like your poverty gets inherited, kind of.
That generational curse of poverty gets passed on.
Yeah.
I see. But outside of that context, it's not just like a deeply ingrained thing in your psyche.
I don't think so.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Because again,
it does exist, but it's not like a thing that it's not conceptualized enough, I think.
Again, I don't know how much of this is like the Christian influence, but to be honest, a lot of the Korean American experience revolves around the Korean American church too. But just as and I know I keep saying Korean American, I know the director was Korean Canadian, but yeah, pretty similar enough. But that idea that whatever some of those negative things just get passed on, and it's almost inevitable. And in this movie, it was clearly depicted as the demon curse, right?
Yeah,
came from the father. Which, by the way, like zero mention. Like they totally dropped that part of the plot. And so okay, I just wanted to see if that was something that caught your mind. Okay. So we went through all my notes. Anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing. So while I was watching this movie, and you hear a lot of the tracks, right? And I realized that some of them sound like K-pop and some of them don't. And I started to realize there is this genre of K-pop, right?
Yeah.
Because at one point I was like, what even is K-pop, right? Because it's becoming so much similar to what pop is.
Yeah.
But then I realized that even though they're singing 100% or like 90% in English, certain songs feel more K-pop-ish and some don't. So how would you define what K-pop is?
Jun, you stole my talking point. No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
We got to define what K-pop is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking a little bit about this, and in my mind, there has to be one Korean.
At least.
Yeah. And I think the words have to include some Korean.
Is it and or
maybe or, let's say.
Because a lot of these like Korean music labels are trying to produce these boy bands, girl bands they don't have Korean.
I know. And I don't think you'd call that K-pop.
Oh, it's not K-pop.
It's just a pop group from Korea, let's say.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's not even an and, maybe it is an or. No, I think it's an and. Yeah, I think it has to have at least one member who is Korean. And then the songs have to include some Korean lyrics, let's say. And I think maybe the group has to like come out of the K-pop training method that exists in Korea.
Yeah.
I'd say those three things.
Yeah, I think there's a very blurry line these days, especially when you realize that a lot of the songs that these K-pop bands are singing are not produced by Korean composers anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're like all of a sudden like Swedish or something. But for some reason, let's compare those two songs, Soda Pop and Golden. I feel like Soda Pop is very K-pop-y.
It is, yeah.
Golden is less so.
Yeah.
So there's like
Golden has some Korean lyrics in it though.
There are Korean lyrics in it, but it feels less K-pop-ish. Do you agree?
Yeah, just more like generic, again, like Disney song. Like, yeah.
Maybe it's like the way that the song is written. I don't know.
Yeah,
Soda Pop is 100%. If they had no Korean in it, and if they had no Korean member in it, I would think that it's a K-pop song.
Oh no, sorry. Soda Pop does have Korean lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't, I would think that it was a K-pop song.
So for you, it's more about the kind of music style.
I think so.
And maybe
it's the first time that I realized it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely choreography and like the style, like the very vivid colors.
Yeah.
And,
fashion sense.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about so what's your criteria then if you had to lay it out?
What
Because
is
it's hard to
K-pop?
say it has to feel like K-pop. You'll know it when you see it, right? Like,
I want to say that it's, yeah, I agree to the fact that you said it should be produced by a Korean music label.
okay.
And there's like very specific format
Uh-huh.
of like this group member, and they have to be manufactured.
That's analogous to my, it has to come through the
The
K-pop
training
training
system,
method,
yeah,
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 that exists in
yeah.
Korea. Yeah. Yeah, the reason why I really think we have to define what K-pop is is because, yeah, June, this is my hot take. I want to get your thoughts.
Mm,
So there was a headline that I read. Maggie Kang, the director,
mm-hmm,
Korean Canadian, born in Korea, moved to Canada when she was 5. One of the two co-directors of this movie,
mm-hmm,
and yeah, there was this headline that just like I felt like it was too much. I wanted to get your thoughts. The headline, and I read the entire contents of the article as well. So the headline,
mm-hmm,
it said, director of K-pop Demon Hunters says the future of K content is authenticity.
mm,
And there are two things about this that I wanted to get your take on. One, I don't know. I know K-pop Demon Hunters is super super famous right now, and the whole anyone who is even remotely adjacent to K-pop Demon Hunters
mm-hmm,
is walking on cloud nine. Walks on water can do no wrong. But who is she to say the future of K content is anything?
mm,
I mean, all of a sudden she's become like is she the ambassador, the expert in
mm,
K content? I mean,
mm,
obviously it's successful, so maybe that's enough.
mm,
But it did rub me the wrong way. It's
mm,
like she had this amazing hit. I get it, but I don't know if she can represent K content so
mm,
definitively. And then the second part, June, is the fact that she said, "Oh, the future is in being more authentic,"
mm.
which I mean, and this is where it's very very complicated.
Yeah.
How can she say this is more authentic to Korean
Mm,
culture and history
mm,
than what is being produced from Korea?
mm. So,
And sorry, one thing I want to say before you respond though,
mm,
this is the exact kind of thing I said. You remember when I
mm,
first moved here?
yeah.
Like within, I don't know, 6 months of living here, I would tell people like, I feel like I'm more Korean
Mm,
than Korean Koreans.
yeah.
And looking back now, I understand just how like, I don't know, tone deaf maybe that sounds,
Mm,
but I really felt it.
mm,
And in a sense, it's what you talked about. We've talked about a lot.
mm,
Korean Americans uphold a lot of the traditions of like, what is it, pebek when you get married,
mm.
or what is the family registry book? Jokpa? No,
족보?
Jokpo.
Mm,
Like, really valuing that Jokpo, that lineage, caring about family history.
mm,
They are so obsessed with it in a sense.
mm,
Whereas like modern Koreans don't really care at all for the past,
mm,
right? Or
mm,
let's say more traditional Korean culture elements.
mhm.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very complicated. My question to you is, what do you think makes the director have less authority towards what is authentic? In your mind, what is it? Is it her nationality?
I would say just not living in Korea for
Uh,
the past 30 plus years.
30
Yeah. I
plus
think,
years.
I think it's as easy as that,
Mm.
right? And the thing is, when you're Asian, let's say Canadian or Asian American,
Mhm,
you have to differentiate yourself and you feel, you really embrace your Korean part
mm,
because very clear you're not American, you're not
mhm,
white, right?
mhm, mhm,
And so that part, you have almost more pride in it in a sense, like you have to,
mm.
right? Whereas in Korea, you don't have pride in your culture per se. It just is. It just
Yeah.
exists,
Yeah.
right? And so to that, yeah, I think you'd probably agree. Korean Americans do maybe hold on to traditional Korean culture elements
Mhm,
more than modern Koreans. I think that's undeniable.
mm,
But is that more authentic? And is that maybe that's what she was getting at?
mm,
Like, just we have to embrace what historically is viewed as like traditional Korean culture.
mm,
Let's not run away from it.
mhm,
But yeah, again, I think you'd probably agree. Korea's culture over the last 30 years has took a pretty sharp turn towards just becoming like American culture, right? That seems to be the goal,
mm,
at least when I think about it.
mm.
I don't know.
I think there are two different aspects of what is authentic.
Mhm.
Is it something that is clearly anchored in preserving the history, or is it more aligned to what it is today? I think there's two different aspects of authenticity, and that's why it's kind of complicated. Yeah. In some sense, I feel like Korean Americans are preserving the more authentic side of Korea, but what is authenticity there? You might argue that Koreans are less Korean, as you described, less Korean
Kind of
than a Korean
embarrassingly,
American.
yeah, yeah.
But I think in certain aspects that is also true.
Uh-huh.
So like who gets to claim what is authentic is kind of interesting. Yeah. Like going back to that beer thing or like 평양냉면, right? So have you had 평양냉면
Yeah,
in
I
Korea?
don't like it.
It's a very distinctively unique taste
Yeah.
in Korea. And I could imagine that it was how it was like in Pyongyang back in the days. But people who like when Korea used to have like these more connections to North Korea and Korean singers would get invited to North Korea to sing or whatever, they would all be invited to this very, very famous Pyongyang Naengmyeon restaurant in Pyongyang.
Yeah.
And they all say it's nothing like what it is in Korea. And I would
In South
imagine,
Korea?
yeah.
Okay.
And I would imagine Korea is preserving that because they don't have the right to
It's so
develop
funny, yeah.
this. And now, what is the more authentic Pyongyang
Pyongyang
naengmyeon is the
yeah.
question, right? Is it the one in Pyongyang or is it the one in South Korea?
Yeah, I get it.
So it's kind of complicated,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
It is very complicated,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would say the difference to me is traditional versus authentic.
Yes.
And I think obviously Korean Americans and maybe what the director was getting at is let's display more of our traditional Korean culture and heritage, right? And but when she says authentic, I think that's where I just get a little bit like honestly triggered. It's like how can you claim authentic Korean?
Yeah.
What is authentically Korean when you don't even live in Korea?
Yeah.
Right? So, because again, this is getting back to my biggest revelation after moving here. Modern Korea is so different than what I thought it'd be.
Yeah.
And kind of the Korean identity and culture that I grew up with. And so that was so jarring for me. And I just see this director, I know she did her research. She had a ton of Korean culture consultants on the project. But sitting and living outside of Korea, creating what she wants to be as authentic of a Korean movie as possible without living there though, right?
Yeah.
It's never going to be as authentic as what's produced living here, right? And maybe in that sense, like true authentic Korean culture today is like Parasite and Squid Game.
Probably.
Whereas like she's maybe depicting more of the traditional values.
Yeah.
Maybe I just took too much issue with that wording of authenticity. But yeah.
Yeah. Traditional and authentic there's a very blurred line between what is traditional and authentic, right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like even in Korea, if you see let's say if you go to like a kimchi place, and there's one place where they serve it in a very traditional style, and there's one place that it's very like fusion now, like modern. They put like cheese on it or whatever. Like, and if someone asks you what is the more authentic
Yeah.
kimchi it would be a very difficult question to answer, right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think I take what I said back a bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously the opposite of traditional is modern, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have a very clear boundary between like Koreans who don't live in Korea today
Yeah.
have no idea what modern Korea is
Yeah.
like. We only know what traditional Korea was like. But yeah, authenticity, it is a bit more blurred than I said.
I understand what could rub Korean people and you in the wrong way is that if they try to depict...
Wait, are you bundling me with Koreans now?
You are Korean. You lived here for what, 3.5
4
years now?
years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, is when someone tries to depict Korea in a wrong way and express that this is Korea today, that would make people upset. Yeah. But if you say that this is the traditional Korean way and label it that way, maybe it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the reason why a lot of Koreans are not upset about K-pop Demon Hunters is because it was well depicted enough
Yeah.
to depict what is reality. And do you want to get into?
Yeah. Let me set it up. So I'll lead with very clearly the director's intention
Yeah.
was to present Korea as authentically and accurately, let's say, as possible.
Yeah.
And I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
And then I think their goal also was to just push and be, proudly display everything that they saw as Korean culture and heritage. And to the point where, like, obviously K-pop is modern Korean culture.
Yeah.
That's not traditional Korean culture either. So I think they did this amazing job of blending those together. But June, when I read that headline and just see in my mind, the people benefiting the most from K-pop Demon Hunters are mostly Koreans living outside of Korea. You know, the Korean American singers, the director, the studio, the Netflix, etc. Those are who are benefiting the most, and they're not Koreans, right? So in a sense, they're taking what K-pop is and maybe some traditional Korean culture, and then mass marketing it, and then benefiting incredibly from it. And I want to just be very clear. I love the movie, support everyone who was involved in it. But by nature, I'm also a bit of a hater. And so when it gets too popular, I'm like, okay, let's reel it back a little bit. Let's be honest. They are not all of a sudden the flag bearers for Korean culture moving forward, Korean content moving forward. They can be a part of it, but they shouldn't be looked at as like the only thing that can now do this, right? And so I wanted to bring up this concept of, and it's very weird because of the dynamics here, but cultural appropriation. And that's when one culture takes elements from another culture and then maybe kind of claims it as their own and benefits more than that original culture does. And, it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But the most common example is, let's say, like in America, I think, the Black America defines a lot of what's cool in the culture. And then when non-Blacks take it, right, they get dreadlocks or they talk a certain way or they rap a certain way or whatever, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're not Black. You can't do that.
Yeah.
That's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Or the other example might be when Hollywood takes like an original like Asian media and it's called whitewashing, right? Make all the actors white and, publish it and then benefit from it. But it's white. It's not true to the original. And here too, it's just, more than I think K-pop. To be fair, I don't know K-pop that well, but at least a handful of the songs have zero Korean, and the others have probably just like maybe 10% Korean. So they're not even singing in Korean. So in a sense, you could take the lens of like, well, just take what K-pop is today, turn it all to English, make maybe the singers like not obviously Korean, and boom, like we're gonna make it better that way.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel wrong as a Korean? Sorry, I said a lot there, but
Yeah, let's start from the fact that you said that the people who are most benefiting from this movie are people who are living outside of Korea. It's obviously the Korean American crew who developed this movie. Netflix is an American company, and it's produced by Sony Pictures, which is ultimately a Japanese company. So there has been talks around in the Korean like community saying that, oh, like who's benefiting from this? It's just like an American company and a Japanese company, right?
And a bunch of Korean American singers, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the Korean American aspect is like in that discourse a lot.
Oh, because they just see us as Americans?
Or they don't, yeah, I don't know. It's not in the picture.
Okay.
But I think the general consensus is that like the indirect benefit that the Korean culture is getting from this movie blowing up is a lot bigger than the direct benefit, like monetary value that these companies are gaining. And I think Korean people are mostly just proud that, again, like we've never seen this thing before where like international audience are so interested in our own culture. So we're just fascinated by it. And also, again, on top of that, it's because it's depicted quite accurately. I think cultural appropriation is kind of, again, there's a thin line there too, right? Whether it's like, how do you define what is cultural appropriation, right? Does that culture have to be a minority? Or like, do you have to use it in a way that it's misinterpreted, right?
Just the answer, I think normally there is, maybe it doesn't have to be smaller versus bigger, but there should be some hierarchy difference, right? The powerful are taking advantage of the less powerful. That's one. And then to answer your second question, does it have to misrepresent? Is it okay if it's properly represented? Yeah, I'd say that point is what makes me least confident. And by the way, this is a hot take. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I just want to put it out there. That's what makes it feel like least cultural appropriation-y to me. Because I think they did a very good job accurately portraying Korean culture and K-pop in general. So, but to answer your question, usually it involves some sort of like ignorance around it. Or maybe even like a lack of, it's more apathetic. Like we don't care if we're accurate or not. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. We're just going to take this concept, wrap it in something new and benefit from it. So
the reason why I think it's a very blurred line is because I think humanity and its culture always evolved in this way of getting influenced by other cultures, right? Like K-hip hop is a a very big industry, and I think Black people in America would be amazed by it. Where if you see like all these Korean people acting like they're Black,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
hip hop is inherently a Black culture.
Yeah.
But I think there's also beauty in it. And if you go back in history, right? We're going to talk about this in our next episode, but I was recently in Portugal, and they have this like very beautiful way of tile decorating,
Uh-huh.
and it's called probably butchering the pronunciation of it. It's called azulejo.
Okay.
It's like a tile
So
system,
cultured.
but it's like painted in blue pigment.
Uh-huh.
And I heard that it's influenced by Chinese.
Oh, porcelain?
I was gonna say Chinese China, but Chinese porcelain
Yeah, yeah,
technique
yeah,
where
yeah.
they use like these blue pigments
Yeah, yeah.
to draw on their porcelain.
Mhm.
And I think
Would
it's a
Koreans, by the way, get offended by that? Because Korean also had a very similar style of porcelain and painting with the blue.
But I think the East Asian culture was all like bundled in together a lot.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Sorry,
I
yeah, keep
yeah, I
going.
don't think that we can claim it as our own. But I think that's another beautiful aspect of like one culture being influenced to another and it's like reborn in a different way. It's more complicated in modern culture, of course, but I think the important aspect is that whether you're misinterpreting it or are you celebrating and honoring it, right? And for this instant, I think it's very clearly honoring and celebrating it. They even call it K-pop Demon Hunters,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they're like very apparently they're obviously trying to depict what modern Korea is. And about the lyrics, if you hear the lyrics of like Korean K-pop, I want to argue that they're already 70% English anyways.
Are they? So I'm not up to
They-
date on K-pop.
They are. Yeah.
But also to be 70 versus 90 is a big difference too.
It is, it is. But it's like it's not that much of a difference
Okay.
I want to claim.
Yeah.
I thought about like is kimchi taco cultural appropriation? But I think that's a beautiful like fusion.
It's a fusion.
Yeah, it's
I
like-
think fusion's
yeah.
a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was gonna ask like when Chinese claim kimchi as their culture.
So yeah, I wanted to get into that.
Yeah.
That is very upsetting for Koreans
It is,
because it is wrongfully depicting what history is, right? And they're trying to
I don't know the actual facts, but yeah.
Okay, to be completely neutral, some people claim, okay, China claims
Yeah.
there's this thing called Northeast Project where they try to claim the northeastern part of China was Chinese history to begin with.
I see. Okay.
Where because the border lines have shifted throughout the history and a lot of that part was at some point Korean as well. So there's a lot of Korean heritage there.
Yeah.
But China claims that that whole history
Is
is
theirs too.
part of Chinese history. And in that sense, they can claim that kimchi is their culture, hanbok is their culture, and that is very upsetting to Korean. Now, I'm not a history expert, so there might be many different opinions about this and perspectives, but as a Korean, it is obviously kind of upsetting because I grew up understanding that kimchi and hanbok and all these things are Korean, but now like China claims that this is Chinese. Maybe
Yeah.
it's their point of view and maybe they're righteous to have their point of views, but in that sense, I as a Korean could feel that that is cultural appropriation.
I see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we're going longer. June, I just want to contrast a bit though, get your perspective on this because my feeling as a Korean American was that Koreans used to love claiming, let's say, Korean American successes as their own. And now more recently, they've been shunning it a bit. And now it seems with this, they're fully embracing it again, right? And so the example, two things I want to bring up. One, I just want to contrast Squid Game with K-pop Demon Hunters. So Squid Game was also, let's say, Netflix produced. They're benefiting the most. But Korean director, filmed in Korea, 100% in Korean with Korean actors.
Yeah.
You know, I think maybe Koreans feel like, oh, maybe we need to get more of the benefit and the contracts or whatever. But no one's going to ever think like they're taking advantage of Korea. They're just taking Korean content and showing it to the world. K-pop Demon Hunters, though, I feel is very different. Its story was written by a Korean Canadian, and I don't even know, someone who's white and married to a Korean from LA. And then it was filmed and created in America with mostly American voice actors. And of course, with just a little bit of Korean interspersed and some Korean, let's say, actors and singers too. But, you know, by and large, the production and cast around this was non-Korean. does it register any different to modern Koreans? Again, in light of like my feeling as a Korean American was, oh, Koreans are trying to distance themselves from us a bit. Yeah.
Maybe this is slightly different, slightly off from the Korean and Korean American discourse, but I think this is just a natural phase of culture being exported. I think the first phase is when they export it from the origin country, right? And they consume it thinking that, oh, this is from Korea.
Yeah.
I think the next phase is when it gets reproduced in that culture,
interesting.
and that's when it's really immersed in that culture. And I think we're slowly like going into this next phase of like now it's like the Korean Americans. Maybe I would expect the next phase is gonna be like Americans like coming up with these new kimchi recipes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That would be
yeah.
like this real like cultural export in this mature state. So I think we're like it's different phases, I guess.
As always, Jun, that's a very good perspective that I think makes me feel much better about that whole this whole thing that like, oh, why are non-Koreans benefiting the most
Yeah.
from inherently Korean culture and K content?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the one analogy would be like the original kimchi making process in Korea.
Yeah.
And then you export that kimchi, and it's like, oh, this is made in Korea kimchi, the best. But then what if you replicate that exact same process from America with
Yeah.
American ingredients, American water, American salt,
Yeah.
or even like growing the Korean cabbage in American soil, right? Trying to keep authentic to the original, but it's like produced completely differently. And then that kind of evolves on its own now.
Yeah.
You can't call that, let's say, cultural appropriation. It's just evolving the culture
Yeah.
from a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Like just today, I was like flipping through reels and I saw like this cooking reels and
Yeah.
this person was saying like, oh, like what do you do with the left? Like if you see cauliflower and there are like leaves on the adjacency of it,
Yeah.
and like what do you do with these leaves? I make kimchi out of it. Like out of nowhere, like this
Cauliflower
white lady's like making kimchi out of the
Yeah.
cauliflower leaves, and she was calling it cauliflower leaf kimchi.
Kimchi, yeah.
And I thought that was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The counterpoint, let's say, I'll bring up is, do you remember in Culinary Class Wars?
Yeah.
Chef Edward Lee, he made, what was it? Was it bibimbap?
Yeah, bibimbap.
He made bibimbap, but very, let's say, a modern American take on bibimbap.
Yeah.
And the head chef was just like, this is not bibimbap.
That, to be fair, the head chef wasn't. I don't think he was addressing the authenticity of what bibimbap is.
Uh-huh.
Maybe a little bit so, but the very distinctive way that he analyzes food is that there has to be intention behind it. If you want to call it bibimbap,
Yeah.
what if you extract all the decorative parts of bibimbap, what is the essence of bibimbap? Is the act of like the bibim, the mixing, and it didn't have it.
Oh, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. In that sense, I think we've come a little bit full circle, and so I think we should end it here.
Yeah.
But it comes back to what is K-pop? Yeah, and that is a question probably we will not get an answer to today.
There's always a blurred line. Like, what is Britpop, right?
Yeah.
There used to be a very distinctive Britpop feel of like the music coming from it, but now like modern days, like they're pop coming from the UK that sounds very poppy,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
Oh, it's such a, yeah. This is one I'll have to think about more. Yeah. What is authenticity?
Yeah.
Traditional versus modern? How do you define the essence of a culture to begin with? And how can that change over time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even, I agree, even the premise of what I was saying is almost as ridiculous as the K-pop Demon Hunters plot. Can Korean Americans culturally appropriate Korean culture? Like, it is their culture, but it's also changed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a weird.
I can totally understand it coming, especially from your point of view, because
I'm now living in Korea.
Yeah.
I think I've become more sensitive to the Korean psyche and feelings. Because this director is talking and saying things that,
because you know where they're coming from,
Exactly.
and you
I would
understand
have-
what the reality is.
I would have said the exact same thing without
Yeah.
a care in the world, feeling super confident in
Yeah.
myself. This is K culture. And yet living here now, it's like, oh, I don't know what K culture is. Okay. Let's just wrap.
Okay.
We'll do the shout outs and everything on the next episode.
Okay.
But yeah, we are going to record our next episode, which will be a more traditional episode. We'll catch you up on our lives and everything.
Spoiler alert.
But for now, yeah, thank you for listening. And this will probably be our first episode back.
Mm.
And a very fitting one because, yeah, this movie, man, number one all time Netflix streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much more I could have talked about. But June, I just have to say, yeah, my kids all love it. Even my son.
Mm-hmm.
They all, every night before bed, we talk about what song, everyone gets to pick a song as their bedtime song.
Oh.
It's just always from this. And yeah, I love the lyrics. They're so good. They speak to me so deeply to the point of literally I could bring myself to cry a lot of times just listening to them. So.
As always, I've learned so much more about these things. It's always so refreshing and deepening my mind to hear about, especially coming from you, like Korean American perspectives for like certain media. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all for this episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed our K-pop Demon Hunters media review.
Long awaited.
Oh, we didn't do a lot of the... We have our template, June. I'm supposed to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, would this have more appeal or less appeal as a non-native viewer?
But we already know that it has a lot of appeal.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, the severity of the difference of the appeal.
So one is only appealing to Koreans, right?
Yeah, and 10 is only appealing to Americans.
I want to say 8 or 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This was number 1 in Netflix Korea too, June.
But it was number 1 in Netflix Korea because,
it was popular in America first. Yeah. I was going to go with 6.
6?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And it's interesting because the only people I know who haven't watched it yet are, I know some Korean dads who have not watched it and people without kids who have not watched it. But if you're both in you're a Korean male without kids. If you have kids, or I think if you're a woman, it's like close to 100% view rate at this point.
Wow.
Is my feeling of people I interact with and talk with. Yeah, we won't talk about this, but June, the other thing I want to ask was around just like, the Asian content in America. The 2 things I was going to bring up was Crazy Rich Asians and then Past Lives, which is essentially a Korean American movie. Also Korean Canadian, but mostly filmed in New York and revolving around Korean gyoppas. Yeah, I think Koreans couldn't care less about those movies.
No. Crazy Rich Asians was not a thing at all in Korea.
Right? Yeah, I cried coming out of the theater. All right, that's really it. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
안녕하세요, 여러분. 저는 다니엘입니다.
저는 준입니다.
그리고 우리 코리안 아메리칸 팟캐스트예요. 그리고 우리는
코리안
아메리칸 팟캐스트입니다.